So our next task is to define a function getA so that it contains a branch, and a branch is just a series of checks, right? Looking for keywords, and once it finds a set of keywords that it can recognize, then it should run the function rangrade. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how that looks. We're over here in AI, and yeah, I guess the first thing that you want to do is you want to print out like the yes, no, or maybe, right? So we want to run ask in here like that as the first thing. And then from there, we want to define this function getA. Okay, so you can call this function whatever you want, but I called it getA. And of course, getA is going to jump to another function, and this function needs the question, right? Well, luckily we passed the question to AI, so we could just pass the question to getA, and then when we come over here, we can define getA, def getA, make sure we receive the question, and we're gonna check that question, right? And so how do we check for things? Well, computers can only make decisions by using branches, so I'm gonna say if, right? So if question, or maybe not question, maybe I could say if will, right, in question, and maybe I could say I, right? I'm going to say lowercase I, because over here I guess I could say q is equal to q dot lower, right? That's going to lowercase the q. I guess maybe I should do that down at the bottom, so maybe I could do it right in here where I run check inputs with q in there. I'll do check input, that's going to return the question, I'll say dot lower, and that's going to make sure that everything here gets turned into a lowercase, so that we don't need to check if the capital letter I is in question and the lowercase letter I is in question, right? It'll all be lowercase. So we're here, and yeah, if will is in question and I is in question, and love is in question, right? So if all of those three things are true, then we can kind of anticipate that the question is going to be like, will I fall in love this year? And oh, I'm sorry, this is this is about getA, right? So all of these questions here should be related to your grade, right? So maybe I could say, will I get an A, right, in Q? So yeah, if all of these words are in the question, then we can anticipate that it's will I get an A this year, right, or in this class, or something along those lines. And so if that's the case, then we can run rangrade. Okay, and so what is rangrade gonna do? Well, rangrade, what we could do here is we could just print out a simple response like, no, of course you're not gonna get an A this year, right? What do you think? But instead, we're gonna run this function rangrade. And what rangrade is going to do is it's going to run a random, run an algorithm that chooses a random response to that specific question, right? And you might be thinking, well, why should I do that? Well, if you don't do that, then your program is going to seem very robotic and stiff, right? Every time you ask the same question, it's going to give you the same answer. But if you have it set up this way, where you have a random set of choices, right, with this random set of answers based on a specific question, then it will seem more lifelike. And if two people run your program and they both ask the same question, then they'll have a different experience, right? So that's what rangrade is going to do. And so maybe I can come up here and I could define it, rand underscore grade, and of course rangrade needs the question, right? Actually, rangrade doesn't need the question, I don't think, right? Okay, and for now I'm going to put pass because I don't want to define it yet, but I still want this program to compile, right? That's what pass does. You could use that in any block of code, if statements, while loops, function definitions, right? And yeah, so I think that should be good, but now we need to kind of test to see if it works. So maybe I could replace that pass with print rangrade. Okay, so I'm going to run this guy, and I'm going to say, will I get an A this year? And I hit enter, and it says yes, rangrade. Okay, good. So that means that this check caught and it ran rangrade, and it jumped up to here. Okay. Now the only thing that we need to do next is to define rangrade.